Good evening. Welcome to the next episode of the Gospel of Cleasy. This is your boy D Freezy, aka Cleasy for Sheezy. Know it's been a minute. Be perfectly honest, I've been, uninspired to be perfectly honest and transparent. I haven't wanted to. Politics is one of my things that I followed closely for a long time, but I have taken a step away from it here lately for obvious reasons. So, you know, I, my mom always told me if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. So, um, I don't want to be the podcaster to come on and just talk when I don't have anything that I think is meaningful to say. So, I also been going through a little bit of a renovation with my studio slash home office. So that held me back. And then I got a very nasty bug uh, that I don't know where I got it from. I don't know what it was. I didn't go to the doctor. I kind of like used over the counter stuff for it. And I'm on the tail end of it. It was sickest I've been in a while though. So all those things together put me, off air for a number of weeks. There's been a lot going on, and so yeah, let's just get into it. So first thing I want to talk about is, um, hold on, um, where is it? So as you may or may not, and this is an article off the internet. If you can see the picture there, that is LeBron James, power forward, starting forward for the Los Angeles Lakers, and to with his back turned to the camera is Stephen A. Smith. And if you were um, unaware, they had a little dust up a couple weeks ago. The Stephen A. was sitting courtside at the Laker game. I don't even know who was. I don't even know who was playing. Who the Lakers were playing, but there was an exchange, and there was something to the effect of my son's name out of your mouth. From the reports I heard, it was a pretty tense confrontation, and you know, my question to the audience is, what you think Stephen A. said back to LeBron at that moment? You think he said, "Man, who you talking to?" 6'8", 260, and Stephen A. is probably what 6 feet tall and 195 pounds. You think he told LeBron, asked LeBron who the f he thought he was talking to? I don't think so. Um, and there's been good points on both sides. If you take a side in it, people are saying, well, that's Stephen A's job. He is supposed to critique athletes, and um, so he was just doing what he's paid to do. I get that. The other side, I think, is mostly saying that there was one particular segment that Stephen A. did, and he said something to the effect of he was begging LeBron as a father um, to, I guess, send Bronny to the G League or whatever, and that may or may not have crossed the line. I kind of think it did, and I'm just be perfectly honest. I'm biased. I don't like Stephen A. Smith, and I'll tell you why. I don't like Stephen A. Smith. I don't know him personally. I don't like his on air persona because he seems to go a step beyond what I think a journalist should do when the subjects of his critique are African American, and then when they are not African American, he seems not to have as much, you know, incendiary rhetoric or critique of those people. And he's dipping his toe into politics. He might be trying to make a run for some kind of public office or something. Um, I think he, if he does, I think he's going to be a Republican of the kind that Byron Donalds of Florida is. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So um, I don't particularly like Stephen A. I think he is. Um, you know, he's used as the weapon against successful black athletes. He's the one who comes out and says, and some of that's, his persona, and some of that's what's made him popular. But I don't give a damn about popularity. There's a lot of stuff people do that because that's made them popular. A lot of I would say outside abnormal behaviors, and people gravitate to that, and then the person is forced to um, maintain that persona, and that's fine if you want to be successful bad enough to you know sacrifice your integrity, by all means have at it. And I dare say, if I wanted to become a person who did that kind of work, that kind of content, I would be much more successful. I would have way more views than I have, but I'm not going to do that. And before I do that, I'll stop doing it altogether. But that's me. you know um there's a religious teaching that says something to the effect of, what good is gaining the world if you lose your soul. My soul is not for sale. So that's why I don't like Stephen A. And so I took some joy in LeBron checking him. And you know, I think in our community we should check each other. And we should call it out if you are being extra when um uh, um you know if you're being extra in your critique of one of us, and you don't have that same energy when you critique other groups of people. And that leads me to my next point. um Bronny is you know and LeBron made a comment that said, Bronny was better than a lot of NBA players. Okay, I that could be debated. I don't know how many he's talking about. um But let's talk about something called nepotism real quick. Nepotism is practiced every day in America, and it's not illegal. That's the other thing. Um, People who create companies and grow them and make them successful normally leave the companies to their family members. I remember I was working at a job, and one of my coworkers was like, the only reason why um, he got that job is because his daddy owns the company. And I looked at him crazy, because I'm like, what did you expect? Do you do? And this is my question to the audience: do we really expect a man to start a company, build it up, make it successful, pass on, and leave it to the employees and not his family? Now the NBA is not LeBron James's corporation or company, but he wields tremendous influence through what he's done as a player, and also through what Rich Paul has done with I forget the name of their sports organization, but he's an agent. He's a very powerful agent. They wield a lot of influence in the NBA. So if you hate on LeBron for getting his son a position because he was able to, I don't understand the thought process behind that. What did you expect him to do? Say no, son, you I could help you, but I'm not. Do what other CEO does that? I don't, I know there probably are some that won't, don't want their families to touch their business with a 10-foot pole, but like you do these things for the benefit of your family and to pass on things to your family. So, you know, what I would say is, okay, LeBron used his influence to get Bronny in the NBA. I give you that, but it's no different than any other parent that tries to put their children in a better position than they are in. So if you hate on him for that, I don't get it. But you that's your opinion. That's your right. You can hate on whatever you want to hate on. Um, so that's what I'll say about the Bronny Stephen A situation. Stephen A, do better, man. You went to Winston-Salem State. I know Coach Big House. He played for Clarence Big House games. I know he's looking down, shaking his head because you go too far. You can do your job and not do the bidding of those that are enemies of your people. I'll say that. All right, that's enough about him. The next thing on the entertainment side that I want to talk about is this week, several members of uh, some street organizations, and let me first qualify this by saying I am in no way affiliated or familiar with any kind of um, street organizations. I've never been a member. I don't know very much about it other than what I read in books and movies. So anything I say is from an outsider, um, for sure. You know what I mean? I'm not a member of any kind of organization of that type. Never have been. Um, Several prominent members, content creators, street organization members slash content creators, which is part of the problem. Now I'm gonna get to in a minute. Were arrested this week on what, from reports I've read, RICO charges. CCE, continuing criminal enterprise, RICO type charges, and they've been named in conspiracies. Now, I'm not an advocate of street organizations. I understand their history, and I understand that um, this is not anything unique to the black community. There have been gangs. There are gangs of all nationalities and ethnicities. Chinese, Latino, um, black, of course, white, of course, in Venezuelan, Cuban, whatever you want to name. There's a street organization, associated with that ethnic group. What I think is odd is this new phenomenon of these podcasters who are outside of the black community. Let me make a point to highlight that fact. These content creators slash podcasters are outside of the community, and they get these members of the street organizations to come in and basically indict themselves on YouTube. And I just really got one question. What part of the game is that? I mean, when, I was talking to my wife about it, she said it must be a West Coast thing. Is that a West Coast thing? If there's anybody on the West Coast, uh, comment, or hit me up. Like, because it is really like, so the two most prominent police podcasters, I'm gonna call them police podcasters, are DJ Vlad and Adam 22, which is has the podcast No Jumper with another Bama. Um, and I used to watch Vlad religiously because I personally am a crime genre fan. I love all the gangster movies. I've seen them all. Godfather, Goodfellas, Bronx Tale. You name it. Once Upon a Time in America. Um, Yeah, you name it, I've probably seen it. I even when I went to Las Vegas, I went to the Mine Museum, and you know, I was talking about the things I knew, and people started following me and asking me questions like I worked there. That's how much of a fan I am because it's fantasy for me. Like I know I'm not built like that. I'm not, and I'm not going to try to pretend I am. I'm a regular guy. I'm not a sociopath. I hope. I haven't been diagnosed as one. So, which most of those people are. So, um, I was watching Vlad, and I watched the interview with Chiefy D, who has been arrested uh, for involvement in the murder of Tupac Shakur. He's currently serving time, and there's a lot of. And I watched him basically tell Vlad what happened and who did what the night that Tupac was uh, murdered. And I was like, wow, that blew me away. Cause I'm like, I thought, I mean, first of all, like the streets are laden with no snitching. So when did it become okay to go on these podcasts and snitch on yourself? So, just to be clear, my suggestion. Oh, and this is another thing. So, I, the reason why I became a podcaster or I started podcasting was because of two people, Reggie Osei, aka Combat Jack, and Taxstone, who had a podcast called Tax Season. Um, Ironically enough, I mean, shout out to Tax. I'm not gonna say free tax because it don't look good. But peace to Tax. I thought he was I think he is very talented, and I'm sad that um the circumstances as they are led to him being locked up. You know, and Reggie Osei, he just uh had interesting guests because he had a lot of hip hop guests. He was a lawyer. He's transitioned now. Rest in peace to Reggie Osei, aka Combat Jack. Um, and he just had a way of getting people to tell stories that I had never heard before. And so that's what I was like. I kind of want to do that. But Tax had an attorney who used to be, I think he used to be a prosecutor in Brooklyn. His name is Kenneth Montgomery. He's on social media. He's a brother. Um, he had him on, and the thing that stuck out to me that he said was the reason the police know what is going on in the hood is because Negroes are telling. And that's very simple. And it sounds so simple when you say it that way. But, you know, and he went on to elaborate, and he said, you got people that want to do it for the gram, which that was popular. I guess they do it for TikTok or whatever now. But people engage in illegal activity, and they're posting things that implicate them in crimes. And I just want to say this for the record, for somebody who may not know, the police have people monitoring social media. I heard one of the BMF people, I think, say that he was on the run, and he somebody got on his social media account, and the feds kicked down the door because they thought he was there because oh, I'm sorry. I hope that didn't damage your eardrums. It almost damaged mine. Um, because they had the IP address that he was logging on from, and so they raided it. So listen, let me just say this for all my brothers, and I'm not advocating crime. I'm just saying, if you committing crime, stay the hell off the internet, and for God's sake, stay off podcasts, and for God and everybody else sake, stay off of No Jumper and Vlad TV. They are the police. You know what I'm saying? And I really, it's you know, I don't s- I don't know what they're doing. I really think they putting truth serum in the damn air conditioning vents, or like I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something to make people just go up there and indict themselves on damn um on these podcasts. And then the one guy from No Jump, his name is Adam 22. He was like, I just think it's wild that people are trying to say I had nothing to do with it, and whatever you say, um, bro, don't need. So Rico, everybody that's named is indicted. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a law school student either yet. Um, but everybody that's named as a co-conspirator is charged. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even gotta do nothing. You only thing you gotta do is talk to somebody on the phone or whatever that's doing it, and you're implicated. But Vlad ain't been indicted, and Adam 22 ain't been indicted. So until they are indicted, they are the feds. Stop talking to them. Yeah, don't do that. I mean, it don't make no sense to me. Now, all the stuff that's coming out that these people have allegedly perpetrated, I'm not involved in that. And if they did it, then I hope they got good lawyers. That's all I can say. I don't know any of them. I ain't got a dog in the fight. The only point I want to impart is stop telling on yourself. That's just the weirdest thing I ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? If I thought the game was you don't never speak on it, but maybe things have changed for likes. You know what I'm saying? And going viral, whatever. So that's that. All right. So that's the entertainment part. LeBron checked Stephen A. and Bama's is going on podcast indicting themselves. Um, you know, so on the local front, uh, here in Durham, I got some reports. I got a report today that there's some kind of rezoning going on um, over in the Lakewood. Let me see what they said. Lakewood and Fayetteville Street area or Fayetteville Road area. Um, and I don't know the details yet, but I am going to find out because what I've come to realize is the plan in Durham is plan all over the United States, but the plan in Durham is to make a city where only people above a certain income can live. Um, we have I don't know how many you know $1 million or close to $1 million um, properties that are vacant, and we got I think at the last meeting I went to, the report I got was like 300 or so people that are homeless. We got a real serious homeless problem. Um, Long Meadow Park, which is on the corner of Austin and Holloway Street, is um, one of the homeless encampments that you can see. But there's also one out on Glen School Road by the Walmart. There's also one at the corner of Sharon Road and Highway 70. And there's also one, or there was one under 147 on one of the bypasses at 147, but I think they cleaned them out. Um, and I've gone to the city. Well, I haven't gone to the city. I have talked to city officials. Let me say it the right way because I don't want to misrepresent what I have done. And I asked them about solutions for the homeless people. And the answers I get are, well, we looked at that and we can't do it because X. And then, well, what about this? Well, we looked at that. You know what I mean? So they look at everything and say no. I want to know. My question to them is, what will you say yes to? I think an area with um, communal showers and you know an area where they can congregate and keep their tents or whatever. I really think tiny homes would be a great idea. But For some reason, they can't do that. But yeah, our priorities are, or at least it appears to me that our priorities in this city are to develop, um, you know, a mid-sized city with a very high income that, you know, overlooks the needs of the people in the lowest economic status. Um, we're not paying uh, our city workers enough to live in the city, including the police department and the fire department, which are critical. And we're losing uh, officers and firemen to other municipalities because they can make more and have to pay less to live. It's not it ain't rocket science. And you know there the so let me see. Back in December, the city council authorized 1.75 million in federal funds to go towards rebuilding and repairing homes and commercial properties in Durham's Fayetteville Street corridor. And it's supposed to be part of this thing called the Hayti Promise Fayetteville Street Corridor Project. Um, it's the first money earmarked from 10 million in ARPA funds that was approved for that project back in May. And see, this is the thing. They also said a few years ago that Durham, when the George Floyd thing happened, the reparations argument kind of got a boost, and Asheville, North Carolina, passed some kind of reparations resolution, and Durham reported that they passed a $6 million reparation movement. We have since got confirmation from people inside the city government that there was never any money for reparations in Durham. And, you know, I serve as the chairman of the Black Liberation Action Committee of Durham. I'm also affiliated with the Black Hoodie Brigade. And one of the things we continue to call for and will continue to call for is reparations for the city, and specifically reparations with respect to housing. Um, if I'm a business major, I say that in every few podcasts. If you know anything about economics, you know that a house is the biggest single purchase most people ever make. And it's also the way that people pull themselves from poverty into the quote unquote middle class. Um, Housing offers a lot of protections from inflation and things like that. So and ownership, people that own things behave differently. It's like the difference between how you drive a rental car and how you drive your own car, if that makes sense. So if you put people in housing that they know they don't own, they're not going to treat it in the same way as they're going to treat a house that they own. So there's a lot of benefits to helping people secure housing. Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, clothing, and shelter at the very top. Um, if people are nourished and they have shelter, um, and they have clothes on their back, a lot of things will go away. I guarantee it. And if I'm wrong, you can come back and tell me so. So yeah, we continue. So at $1.75 million with the cost, I'm a homeowner, so I know what maintenance costs. I know better than I want to know what a heating and air conditioning unit costs. So you extrapolate that across. I mean, 1.75 million. What I'm saying is $1.7 million is not going to do a whole lot to rebuild Hayti. And if you don't know what Hayti is, Hayti was the Black community of Durham that was demolished through a program called Urban Renewal, um, and 140 Highway 147 was built smack dab through the middle of it. That's one of the programs that um, negatively impacted black people. It's not the only one. That's just one. Redlining is another one, also related to housing. It's a book called The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. I don't I don't have a copy, but if no, I don't have it right here. I got it. It's around the corner there. Um, you know, when the Federal Housing Administration got going, one of the things they did was basically corral black people into areas and then refuse to let them borrow money to improve their homes or buy homes. You know what I mean? It's called redlining. They just drew a red line around the black areas and said we're not gonna loan money in these areas. And you can see the effects of it today. They also promoted restricted housing covenants um, in the book City of Quartz by Mike Davis about the history of Los Angeles. Housing restrictions were big for black people and Asian people. They didn't want anybody but white people living in these newly developed tract tract subdivisions. You know what I mean? So um, Levittown in New York, that's another one. Donald Trump's father, Fred, uh, he was subsidized by the government for building segregated homes. He built a lot of homes for the military bases in Norfolk, and he built some developments in uh, New York, and they were all segregated. So you know, that's how he became wealthy through um, money from the government to build segregated housing. That's a fact. Look it up. Look up how Fred made his money. So yeah, uh, and so that's on the uh, municipal home front, Durham. I like to start there. Uh, so statewide, the North Carolina General Assembly has passed a couple of bills. They're starting to show their allegiance with the current presidential administration. One, excuse me, one of those bills is State Bill 227. Um, it's a bill eliminating DEI in public education, sponsored by uh, Senate Leader Phil Berger. I think he is out of Rockingham. So if there's a town hall that State Senator Phil Berger is throwing down there in Rockingham County, kinfolk, go down there and express your opinion. That's his job to hear what what we feel about these type of things. And you know the the words they're saying are that you still you're not prevented from teaching history, but the teaching of the history has to be impartial. Now the question is, what is impartial, and who's deciding what is and is not impartial? That's the question. And it's interesting that a couple of years ago, a few of us here on the squad were trying to get uh, African centered history added to a bill that the state General Assembly had for making it mandatory to teach the Holocaust. So what it boils down to is it's the same thing as the CRT argument, the anti-CRT argument. They don't want history being taught to white children that will make them feel bad or resentful towards their ancestors. What they're basically doing is trying to rewrite history. Um, Another interesting thing, there are a number of books that I cut my teeth reading that are now either out of print or they cost a lot of money. Um, there's a book about lynching called Without Sanctuary. Um, that I saw a video from the actor Bill Duke talking about, and I went and looked up. That book is like $250 on Amazon or something crazy. You know what I mean? Um, there's several other books that me and a brother of mine talk. You know, we always talk about books, and he's like, "Look at how much this one costs." So what they're doing is slowly trying to anything that runs counter to the narrative they're trying to push, they're trying to erase it. So if there's a book that you want to read that's quote unquote radical, you might want to try to get a copy of it as soon as possible because it may not be available anymore. So that's that's one bill they passed, and I think it made it. They voted it out of committee, and I don't know what the next step is because I don't know the process. But um, it looks like, for all intents and purposes, it's going to happen. So yeah, the North Carolina, we got a Democratic governor, but the General Assembly is Republican led, and they are moving in lockstep with the presidential administration. The other bill, so that's State Bill 227. Look it up and read it. The other bill is Senate Bill 50, Freedom to Carry NC. Now they passed a bill, and I don't know where it's at in the process, that if you're 18 or over, you can carry concealed in North Carolina without a permit or anything. I don't know what that means about purchasing of guns, but it means everybody gonna be walking around strapped, 18 and over. Now, my question is, what's the purpose? Do we want to, and to the best of my knowledge, North Carolina it operates under the castle doctrine. I don't know if the stand your ground law is applicable in North Carolina. I think it is. I don't think so. The thing about standing your ground is, if you're in danger, you don't have a duty to retreat, if I understand it correctly. Which is a little bit different because in some states you have a right to protect yourself, but if you can get away, then you can't kill the person or you can't harm the person. But like with Florida and the Trayvon thing, um, if you feel threatened, you don't have to run, and you can kill them and you claim stand your ground. You can kill them and claim stand your ground if you're white or uh, on probation to be white, like George Zimmerman, because he ain't even white. He's a Hispanic with a Jewish name. And strangely enough, the the president of Mexico is Claudia Sheinbaum, which I thought that was odd. Nobody else did. I was like, how is a Mexican woman named Sheinbaum? But turns out her, I guess her parents were Sephardic Jews from Spain. I think that's what I read. But anyway, I'm like, wow, okay. Um, Learn something new every day. I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, these two bills, Senate Bill 227 for removing DEI from public schools, and Senate Bill 50 to allow everybody and their mama to walk around with a gun concealed. Um, I guess the rules, if you're a felon, you can't own a handgun. All apply. I guess you can't. If you're a felon, you can't carry a concealed weapon because you can't own a firearm. So, I hope it works like that. But yeah, so that's what our state legislature is doing. I'm not surprised in any way. Yeah. So um, so that's what's going on the local and the state level. The last thing I want to talk about is the Democratic Party. Well, in general, it's the Democratic Party. So I was listening to Carl Nelson show, and peace to Carl Nelson and Kevin and the whole crew up there. They do great work. I don't think there's another podcast that reaches that many show. They're on WOL, I think, and I think that's in in New York, in DC, and then they're on the Baltimore station, which I don't know the call letters for. But anyway, it's on Apple Podcasts. It comes on, but if you want to catch it live and call in, it's early in the morning, like 6 in the morning or something. But he has a lot of guests that you won't hear anywhere else. They usually have a point of view that you won't hear anywhere else. Unfortunately, and so I was listening to him, and a guy he had on said that almost 90 million people that were eligible to vote in this last presidential election did not vote. 90 million. Now I think Trump got 78 million, and uh, Vice President Harris got 70 million or 74 or something like that. But more people that were eligible to vote didn't vote than either candidate got. And to me, if you're a Republican, it's no big deal because you won. If you're a Democrat, I would be ashamed to know that. And I don't know I guess it's probably normal for that many people that are eligible to vote not to vote. But I would, that's what would keep me up at night, because my question to myself and my party would be, how did we not get enough of that 90 to beat this candidate? I mean, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad when you think about it. There's problems with the electoral college, but he won the popular vote. And the 10-4 hat people are saying this election was stolen. I can tell you who won't say it was stolen. The people who won, they won't say it was stolen. Now, if they would have lost, they would have said it was stolen, which they did when they lost in 2020. And it's only stolen when they lose, which is a different kind of thinking than I'm familiar with. It's really strange. But yeah, that's what would keep me up at night. And that begs another question: Who is the leader of the Democratic Party? Who is it? Is it Chuck Schumer? Is it Hakeem Jeffries? And with this thing with the continuing resolution to keep the government funded and open, Chuck Schumer voted one way, Hakeem Jeffries voted another way. So y'all need to get it together. I mean, I ain't gonna say it's over for the Democratic Party, but it's in bad shape. They said the same thing about the Republican Party when Obama won twice. They said that the Republican Party was over, and they're clearly not. But yeah, when that man gave that speech, where it wasn't a State of the Union speech because he hadn't been in office long enough to give one, and Representative Al Green of Texas, shout out to Representative Al Green of Texas. He's one of the only sane voices on that side that I hear. But when he spoke out and was asked to leave, and if all the Democrats didn't leave, at least the Congressional Black Caucus should have left. I continue to be pretty much disgusted with the Congressional Black Caucus because I don't see anything they do for Black people. I don't see anything they do for Black people. There's some more people, prominent organizations that I can talk about. I don't see really anything they do either. But I'll save that for another day. But the Congressional Black Caucus is, man, the Democratic Party is spineless. The Congressional Black Caucus, I don't know what you call them if the party in general is spineless. But if I had my pick, I pick Jasmine Crockett. And there's a lot of Black men with mommy issues that don't like her. That's fine. Your mama didn't hug you enough. It's okay. I get it. I'll hug you if you want to hug. Call me. It's a number right here. We can talk about it right now. I know it's some of y'all that mama just didn't hug you enough. and so that makes you lash out, and it's okay. I mean, we all got problems, with childhood. I definitely have some. But she seems to be the only one consistently calling them on their bullshit. And so that's who I'm with. I'm with her. Um, her and Al Green are the only two that I see, that show me anything like resistance. And you know, say what you will about the Republican Party, but one thing they will do is move in lockstep for the most part. And regardless of what their leader does, they don't back up. I watched Face the Nation this morning, as I do most Sunday mornings, and all the wild stuff that's happening, they will not say a word against any of it. And you know, you got to respect it. It damn sure seems to be effective. So um, I want to see, I want to see resistance. I want to see people fighting back. We don't. We think we're powerless, but we're really not. And we're starting to see evidence of people moving in unison, and the effect is having. There's some corporations that are starting to pay attention that we're not really messing with them like that, and to that point, there's a boycott. There's a boycott against Target. There's a number of boycotts going on, but in general, just keep it basic. Back to Maslow, food, clothing, and shelter. If it's frivolous, or if it's something you can do without, um, you might want to think about it. Delayed gratification. If you can control your impulses, you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. So uh, that's pretty much all I have tonight. Um, Glad to be back with y'all. I hope one day somebody calls in and I can take a call or something, and we can talk about some stuff. I'm gonna work on getting more guests because I really prefer interviewing people. I think people are interesting. Everyone is interested, and everyone has a story um, that could be shared and could be useful. So I'm gonna work on getting getting some more guests. Oh, one guy I know from back home is doing a web show, and he's interviewing different people from our community. I'm from the 910 Columbus County. Um, and his show is called 74 East. It's two brothers. Um, I know I know one of them fairly well. We grew up around each other. But yeah, I'm excited that with what they're doing. They also have a kind of a web show that's kind of in the crime genre, and I'm excited about that too. One of my close friends is in it. Shout out to Grit. And shout out to Petey, and I think the other brother's name is Javon, but it's called 74 East. It's on YouTube. Check it out. They interviewed a legend, a basketball legend. Every time I think about him, I think about the time I saw him in Wyver Park, and I thought it was like something I had never seen before or since. Scotty Logan, shout out to him, or out of Wyver, North Carolina. Wyver's had a lot of if anybody wants to do uh, a a show about small towns that put out a lot of like pro athletes. Wyver, North Carolina put out a lot of pro athletes, man. For it to be such a small town. So, shout out to them. That's the county seat, um, named after James B. White, Whiteville. Yeah, that's where we from. So, shout out to them. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I hope you guys have a good week. I hope I entertained you for at least a part of this. And I will be back with y'all next week, and we'll talk about what else, what happens this week. So, peace and love. Ecclesia out.